Hey everybody, welcome to Just Cook with Michael. Today we're going to make a great dish, grilled cheese sandwich with encrusted Parmesan cheese on the bread, with sun-dried tomatoes and some fresh herbs from the garden. Have some rosemary and some oregano. If you don't have that, you always could just sprinkle in some dry herbs. Very simple. These are all the ingredients. I'm going to put about a half tablespoon of butter on each side of the sandwich bread. And what that's going to do, it's going to kind of act as an adhesion. So when we press the bread into a plate of Parmesan cheese, all the cheese sticks to the bread. Therefore, we can pick that up and put it right into the fryer. And we'll do the same with the other slice. Super good, very delicious. You'll impress your friends. Here we go. Okay, the first step to this process is softening the butter. Now, obviously, a lot of this depends on, I pulled this butter out of my refrigerator probably half hour ago. My house is probably about 70 degrees right now, so depending on your environment, you want to have it so you can easily apply it to your bread slices. So I softened the butter. I put my Parmesan cheese in a loaf pan because this is sourdough bread. You could use whatever sliced bread you like. And so I chose a pan that would fit that nicely because this is full of Parmesan cheese, maybe about a quarter inch to half inch of it. And after I put on the butter, I'll press that on to adhere to the bread. So you want to be pretty liberal with it. And that way your Parmesan cheese will stick nicely to it. And really cover every little inch of the bread. You have even, uniform butter and Parmesan cheese. Okay, that's a nice coating of butter there. And we'll dip it right into the Parmesan cheese. Press that in firmly, turn it around. Go ahead and put some pressure on there. I really want it to coat well. So I'm putting as much pressure without, I don't want to damage the bread, obviously. But you can see that's a beautiful crust of Parmesan cheese. This is going to be so tasty. So there's that one. All right, now I'm ready to dip in my second piece of buttered bread. Press that in, shake it around, get some good distribution, get a nice even coat. Look at that, that's just beautiful. I feel like just biting into it right now. So I'm gonna put these two slices in the freezer. They'll probably only be in there about 5 minutes, but especially if you have a really hot kitchen, you don't want the butter to start melting ahead of time and not, because right now the butter's sticky, it's pliable, it's holding on to that Parmesan cheese, so when you turn it sideways, it's not coming off, and we want it to maintain that stickiness. I don't want it to start melting before I'm ready to dump it in the pan. Okay, the next segment is to cut up some oregano I have in my yard. Another thing I like doing with rosemary, I'm going to do a recipe probably in the future, is I'll cut off a fairly long twig, maybe like a 6-inch piece of rosemary. This twig is pretty thin, probably just 2-3 millimeters at the most, but I'd pick a piece that's maybe closer to 4 to 5 millimeters, and then after I marinate some shrimp, skewer those shrimp onto the rosemary and grill them on my barbecue, and it's just delicious. It's grilled on the herb and presented on the plate with the whole skewer of rosemary. Usually I put about 4 shrimp per rosemary segment, and it's just delicious. And we want this to be pretty fine. You could omit this if you do not want to have herbs on the bread, or if you just don't have them around right now. So I will just sprinkle those fresh herbs right onto my dish. Good even distribution. Back into the freezer. Okay, we're ready to fry up the grilled cheese. The pan is warm. It's not super hot, kind of a medium level. You don't want to burn the cheese on the outside of the crust before the provolone in the middle is done. And again, if you don't have provolone, I think some other good cheeses, Fontina would be fantastic with this, mozzarella, Monterey Jack, one of those white sharp cheddars would be delicious. So definitely you could improvise. So again, that pan is warm. Definitely would suggest a non-stick pan. A little oil in there. I want to get good coverage. So this is just going to go face down fairly quick. There we go. And my other slice I'm going to keep in the refrigerator until I'm ready for it. And I will start layering on provolone cheese. I like it to be right to the edge. Just get a little bit of it maybe dripping off the edge. I'm really trying to put some pressure on this spatula to get under the cheese and just let it cook. And you want to peek every once in a while to see how well it's doing. That's already browning up pretty good. I might go into the toaster oven with this because I don't want to overcook that outside part. Turning a nice golden brown on that cheese side, so I want to lower the temperature of this flame while I put the sun-dried tomatoes on it. Looks delicious. And you can see the provolone's just starting to melt a little bit, that first layer, but it's definitely not fully melted. And here, this cheese is cold on top. That should allow it to stick well. This is probably the trickiest part, is flipping this over, not making a mess. Try to lay it right back on top. Look how beautiful that looks. That smells so freaking good. You can see the beautiful crust on there, beautiful color. It did come off a little bit there, you know, life's not perfect. And the herbs just bake right into the cheese and bread. Again, you want a really low heat because the sandwich is fairly thick and we want to melt the cheese inside. So if the flame's too high, the crust is going to turn too dark or possibly burn before the interior is done. You can see it's starting to melt, but we really want to get a nice melt on there. So if I got to a point that this was turning too dark on the outside, I would just pick the whole thing up and put it in an oven on a cookie sheet pan or in a toaster oven on low, about 350 or maybe even 300. Because again, if caramelization takes place around 350 degrees. So if you put it in the oven around 300, what's going to happen, that's still going to be hot enough to bake it and melt the cheese, but you're really not going to add that much more color to the dish. So that's really important, whether you're doing this dish or cooking a Thanksgiving turkey. You have the oven below 350, you shouldn't get that much more browning. Now it's pretty good. It's not too dark. It's a little lighter than this side right now. And this dish, you don't want to play around with it too much, flipping it back and forth 10 times, because you're more likely to peel off your crust. So that's why you really want to be gentle with it and take your time. Let it cook slowly. Provolone, I would say that's probably like 65-75% the way there. Starting to get a good melt, but I could tell the center isn't quite hot. All right, that's been on low heat. It's looking really good. I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of salt and some pepper. I have a pepper grinder that's really nice. It lets you adjust the coarseness of your grind, and it's one of the best ones I found on the market. So that is it. We'll plate that up. Okay, this dish is complete. This is a killer Parmesan encrusted cheese sandwich with provolone, sun-dried tomatoes in the interior, some fresh herbs sprinkled on the outside of it. And check this out. Look how incredible that looks. That is like fabulous. But that's it. That is friggin' delicious, really easy. Get out there and just cook. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.